know, Amanda Chun is going to give her testimony. She's given her testimony before a long time ago, probably about 5 years ago now. But this one's a little bit different, with a little bit more detail, telling her story of God's work in her life. And it's great to see a lot of new faces. I know you guys didn't come to see me, but it's okay. Welcome. And I do want to give Amanda as much time as possible to speak. So, Amanda, are you ready? Okay, here we go.
Voicemails from me. Delilah's my long voicemail sister. We don't know when we're going to connect. Okay. So, I was excited when Greg asked me to share my testimony, which is really just an explanation of my experience with God in my life, because I feel like I've gone through a lot, and even last night when I was sharing it with Jacob, he was saying things like, oh, did you remember this? Did you remember that? So I was editing and taking this out, and so hopefully it'll be succinct and get across the message that I hope to convey. And if not, God will do what he will do with it, and that will be just perfect. So I wanted to share with you guys that I personally experience hope, peace, and protection in having a personal relationship with God. And this is about my journey of striving to understand God's unchanging character and how I fit into his plan. And I'm going to do my best to keep it together, but I can't promise anything. So, a little bit of history. My parents grew up in a church, and they fell in love partially because of their love in music, and they were married at the church campgrounds. I have a lot of great memories going to summer camp, to vacation Bible school, to having my mom teach me how to sing harmony with hymns, which I get to use now in worship, which is really cool. If any of you are familiar with Salty, the Singing Songbook, that's all my daughter wants to listen to in the car. And I have fond memories of that audio tape when I was a youngster. So it's old, but it's classic. If you guys have kids, get the whole set. So that's some really good stuff. I remember talking to Jesus and asking him to come into my heart when I was 5 years old in the bathroom. I believe that he did, and though I forgot him for a long period of time in my life, he held on to me and he fought for me. Some bad stuff is, as I look back and I do a little research now, some of the theology in the church that I was attending was flawed, I believed, and I won't go into that, but in doing some continued research on the true nature of God, it's helped me to get some clarity on theology and be able to explain why I believe what I believe to people. At age 13, 14, my parents decided to get a divorce. And at that time, we stopped going to church. And they didn't care about God anymore, so why should I? You know, parents are very, very, very influential. And I didn't see them needing God in their life, so I just kind of forgot about him. And let me tell you, I was doing absolutely everything that you do not want your 14-year-old daughter doing. Everything. Okay? So I had some very close calls. I was in a car accident on a country road in the middle of the night with an underage driver that the car actually flipped upside down and landed right side up over a barbed wire fence. 4 of us in the car. We got out, walked out, had to walk back into town and tell this young man who had just purchased this car the day before, 16 years old, that we just totaled your car. So I also received a DUI at age 21 and had to have that high insurance for 10 years. Ruined my junior year track season. I was into sports and music in high school. I was a good student. I was a good kid, but I was doing a lot of things that were very, very dangerous. because I was out with my friends and I twisted my ankle and ruined. So there's a lot of things that could have gone very, very, very wrong in my life that didn't. That's why I think I was preserved and pursued for a purpose. That might have been to talk today, it might have been to bring Ari and Cassie into this world. I like to think that it's about many more interactions and relationships yet to come. I get excited about being used to do something great. I mean, who wouldn't, right? So at fellowship last night, the topic was similar to what I'm discussing today, but one of the scriptures that we were talking about was Philippians 1:6, so I thought I'd mention it. For I'm confident of this very thing, God says, that He, God, who began a good work in you will perfect it until the day of Christ Jesus. So it's reassuring to know that we're always being bettered, right? So here's the meat of it, guys. A few years after college, many of you know Jake and I met while living in Kona. I had my dream job in paradise, and I was an independent woman. I had been living without God in my life for a good 10 years, I would say. And things were going all right. Then I started to have some symptoms of depression, is what I would call it. At least that's what the doctor wanted to give me Prozac for, that I refused to take because there was something wrong with me. I don't know what's happening. Some things that were going on in my life where I had broken up with a boyfriend that I'd been dating for a number of years, which may have been a self-esteem-y kind of thing going on. I was feeling a little bit unneeded and undervalued at my job. The symptoms I want to share with you, if you have never had depression or anxiety before, I felt very listless. I had anxiety and worry about absolutely nothing. So it makes no logical sense. I felt this emptiness and this like open space all the time. It was very annoying and very frustrating for somebody who had always been very secure in her own skin and very self-confident to have this feeling of space, emptiness, like what is wrong with me? I didn't understand why I just couldn't be happy with what everyone else would say from the outside looking in was a good life. I was chatting with my mom on the phone one day. She's back in Nebraska, I'm in Kona. She had recently rekindled her relationship with God and was engaged to be married again. And she said she thought I needed Jesus, not another boyfriend. And of course I dismissed it. And I thought, oh no, that's just mom. Like we listen to our mom as young adults, right? But what it did was it planted a rock in my shoe. This like little annoying thing that I kept thinking about. Jake and I were friends at that time, and then we started dating, and I started asking more and more questions about God. I joined a small group at the church that he was attending, and then I kind of hit a point. It was the week that I closed on a purchase of a rental property, and then I was let go of my job in the same week. So I was freaking out about how to prepare this place for the, I think, four tenants that were going to move in, and I had no income. And I was supposed to go back for my mom's wedding in a couple of weeks. So I just, and that kind of put me over the edge. But during this time, Jacob was there. He was helping me clean and paint, made me dinner. He was just there. He was supporting, loving, not pressuring. He was just being a good friend and not wanting anything back. I'd never been with somebody like that. Somebody that wasn't jealous or selfish, you know? And during that time, I didn't know, but my mom was praying for me for a godly man to enter my life. For years, Wanda, Chicken's mom, had been praying for the right match for him. And I'm sure that he was praying for me, thinking, you know, God, let her get it together, because I'm tired of searching. And I know that there are many, many more people that I probably had no idea were thinking of me and praying for me at that time. the time, because of the state of my head, the timing of everything is very blurry. But I do remember laying in bed in the middle of the afternoon, if that's not a sign of something, contemplating how I would commit suicide. I had these thoughts 2 or 3 times during that period, and they were very, very scary because they were so out of my wheelhouse. Like, that just is not me. Like, I would never think of something like that. But I did, and I was actually thinking of the logistics of it. And I just had this voice in my head and a self-talk, and I was like, this is not me, this is crazy. And I started to wonder, gosh, is this spiritual warfare? Has a demon or the devil, is he like inside my brain chain? Like, what is going on? And I just got to that point where I was like, I don't know what else to do. And I got down on my knees and I prayed out loud. I hope my roommates weren't home. But just that type of prayer, pray in desperation. And I was like, if you're real, then bring me out of this. I will be so good, I'll get to know you better. All those things we say when we bargain with God, right? And I was bargaining. So when God chooses to answer our prayers, sometimes we can count it as coincidence. But I was so desperate to feel so different that I noticed when I never had those suicidal thoughts again. I noticed when I started to have a couple of good days. So God speaks to us in 4 ways. Through answered prayer, through other people, through circumstances, and through His Word, the Bible. And He never contradicts Himself, which Greg shared with us a couple weeks ago. I'm just taking some of your, yeah.